Will the UN really arrest Jews next year? And is Iran really spying on Trump? And what's going to happen over the next 46 days with the presidential election, and why does politics have to be so intense, Doug? We're going to talk about it today with Graham Allen, so don't go anywhere. Welcome to the Endtime Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. We're so happy you've joined us today. We'll be getting to your calls momentarily. The number to join us is 877-ENDTIME, 877-363-8463. We have to talk about the threat from the UN, Doug, about the Jews living in Judea Samaria being arrested next year. But before we get into all that, there's so much going on with the presidential election, so much happening with the debate and the results from all that. We had to bring our friend Graham Allen back on the Endtime Show to talk about it. So Graham, welcome back to the Endtime Show.
Hey, what's up, guys? Glad to be here.
Good to have you. We're thrilled to have you. And I just wanted to start by just asking you, you've been in the political world for so long. Why are politics so intense?
Because it's good versus evil under the veil of politics. That's why we're fighting a spiritual battle, and it's draining. In fact, I made a joke this morning that we need to start taking up an offering for to hire a spiritual advisor to be here at the studio, because it feels like we're constantly.
Is this a job offer, Graham? Because I'm ready.
Hey, Bible study after the show, things like that. I think it'd be great because we need some good in here for sure, because it's constantly dark. It's constantly that tension that you feel. I think everybody in the nation feels it. And it's exhausting, and it's tiresome, and it divides families, and it puts strains on relationships. Because I truly believe it's good versus evil that we're dealing with here. And so that's why politics is so strenuous today, is because it's not actually, it is politics, but it's actually the battle between good and evil. And so it's nasty.
Yeah. Well, you were at the debate, as we were talking about before the show.
Yes, I was.
You weren't in the crowd because there was no crowd, but you were in the war room, and there's been, I guess, some leaks. A whistleblower came out about ABC. What do you know about that that's important for everyone to know?
Yeah, so the whole situation was very interesting. So, I mean, this is how I find this. I'm not a believer in coincidences. I just don't believe that. And so I got a call last minute to go to Philly for the debate because the Trump campaign was creating an instant war room, and they wanted those of us with the biggest conservative accounts to be there to kind of instantly propel, good talking points or bad talking points from, Kamala's side or whatever in real time. And so I got a phone call last minute, 36 hours before it was supposed to be there. And I show up at this hotel that the Trump campaign picked at random, just hey, this is a good one. We'll put everybody there. And it turns out that we are at the exact same hotel as the Kamala team, and not just the Kamala campaign team, but she is the sitting vice president. So all the Secret Service, all the vice presidential, PR campaign and assistants and everything. And so we're surrounded by the enemy at this point. There's only 18 of us. There's 100 of them. And we're surrounded, and our war room was in, I guess, the conference area of the hotel. And 6 steps down the hall was the Kamala war room. And so we were going back and forth the whole night, and it was interesting. Everybody saw the debate. I think it's pretty obvious it was a 3-on-1 attack throughout the whole thing. I thought President Trump did as well as anybody could. Can you say President Trump completely grand slammed it, ran away? I don't think you can, but I don't think he could either in the conditions. I think anybody else would have crumbled and fallen in that regard, but Kamala Harris needed a grand slam walk off at the bottom of the ninth to win the thing, and she didn't do that either. But the biggest shock that we're finding out now from an ABC whistleblower is that not only was Kamala given the questions ahead of time, it was also stated and understood that they would only fact check in real time President Trump, and they would not do that for Vice President Kamala Harris. And so that's why you saw the moderators kind of arguing and debating with Trump more than Trump was with Harris. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of debates now to this point, and I've seen some unfair ones. I've never seen the moderators debate a candidate more than the other candidate does.
Well, Graham, let me ask you this. Do you think that, with Trump, the way he does things, he likes to expose a lot of people. And so do you think maybe he agreed to do this ABC because he knew that it would be one-sided and it would expose ABC? Because since this has come out, that all this has happened and this whistleblower's come out now, we've seen ABC's ratings begin to drop, and it's almost like Trump points things out for everybody so that they clearly see it. Because you could clearly see this was a 3-on-1 debate. You could tell that night. And even people who necessarily don't like Trump, they're coming out now and saying, yeah, that was not a fair debate at all.
Yeah, I think that darkness is being exposed. I really do. I think we're in this weird period of, and this is not a Trump is a messiah type figure or anything like that some conservatives get really weird about, which I don't agree with. This is I believe that the Lord is exposing things, not just in politics, but even in conservative media, in the church. I believe the Lord is exposing a lot. And for the first time ever, more people in the United States care about politics than they do. It's on par with they care about college football or sports. Like, people are really paying attention, even as young as my children. Now, granted, I do this for a living, but I remember being my kids' age, 13 and 14, and I didn't care at all what my parents did. Like, I couldn't tell you, like, yeah, he goes to work. I don't know really what he does. But even kids as young as 13, 14 are paying attention to what's going on. Something is happening. So, yes, to answer your question, I think President Trump has never been one to be afraid to walk into the lion's den, so to speak.
Right.
I took a lot of heat on Monday's episode after this second assassination attempt, and I said, Mr. President, it may be time for you to think about bigger than yourself here. I know that you're not afraid, and I know this and that, but maybe you need to put the golf clubs up for the next 46 days until we get past this thing, because if they do accomplish this goal of taking him out, because that's where we are. This is the second attempt in 2 months. He's averaging an assassination attempt a month. I don't know very many people that average that, but that's a big average. I fear for what happens to this country if they succeed. I really do. I don't think that there's any repairing. I mean, you want to talk about just completely destroying the fabric of the nation to violence, I believe, if that happens. And I think President Trump really needs to take a long look at that. How can you help fix the country if you're not alive? And so I really believe, we know that he's strong. We know that he's brave. We know he's not afraid. We got it. But it may be time for you. Hey, maybe instead of doing outdoor rallies, you stick to indoor rallies. Hey, maybe you don't go play golf for a month and 15 days, like kind of thing. And so I just think we're in a very serious time. If he doesn't change the way that he is doing it, as far as what he's doing, going out in public, I agree with Dan Bongino. I'm not sure he's going to make it to Inauguration Day if he doesn't listen to people close to him.
You brought up the assassination attempt, Graham. What's your thoughts on what we know about the suspect? There's a lot of information about him coming out.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I don't see how any sane human being can think anything other than there are people on the inside, either A, in the Trump camp, or B, assigned to 3-letter organizations that are supposed to be in charge of assigning the people to protect him. Someone wants President Trump not alive. And I think that is, I don't see how you can come to any other conclusion other than that. After everything we found out from the Pennsylvania shooting, all the way to this guy was camped out for 12 hours outside of Trump's golf course. His car was parked on the side of the interstate, just right there for 12, and nobody saw it. I don't believe that for 1 second. Right. The information, it leads you to the only conclusion, which is it is an inside job somehow, some way. And brings me back to my point, Mr. President, great. You now have presidential level Secret Service protection. That was announced yesterday. Yeah. Fantastic. I don't trust your Secret Service detail right now. And I don't see how he could either. And if you can't trust your Secret Service detail, then you can't act reckless. And you know, there's a difference between boldness and recklessness. And I think that a lot will come out. Where did this guy get the funding to move around, do what he did? He was unemployed. He didn't do anything, yet somehow he goes from North Carolina to Hawaii to Ukraine, back to Florida somehow, some way, gets a car, like all this stuff. And an AK just happens to be able to get a hold of that in Florida. Yeah. GoPro, bulletproof vest, everything. And so evil is among us, and this is a fight. So the next 46 days, don't expect it not to get crazier. Yeah. Well, we could probably just follow BlackRock commercials and find out who the next assassin will be, since the last two have been in BlackRock commercials. No kidding. It's a very strange coincidence. Yeah.
Graham, the next 45 days is going to be wild. The Biden administration, they've got trillions of dollars of that pandemic spending that we've heard about. What do you anticipate that they try to do with all that money in the next month and a half?
Well, I mean, Kamala is going to not speak as much as humanly possible. I've said it for a while. This is going to turn into a social media campaign, and that's exactly what it is. I'll tell you something to keep an eye on is this whole P. Diddy stuff. There's always October surprises that come out in October, always. 2020, 4 years ago, you had the Hunter Biden laptop come out. You saw the censorship on social media. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with that again, especially now that Elon Musk owns X, formerly Twitter. Mark Zuckerberg is in the crosshairs. People are paying way attention to what they're doing. But this P. Diddy thing, he got denied bail. He got denied his appeal on not getting bail. They are going to find out what this guy knows, who is on these tapes at his home, all this stuff. And it will be interesting to see who he ends up rolling over on in October. I would keep your eye out on that.
Yeah. Well, we certainly do. And we watch a lot of the stuff that some people consider are conspiracy theories. And so we've been looking at the Epstein stuff. We've been looking at the P. Diddy stuff. So there's no telling, and there's ties to that. We talk about global government a lot here on our end. Of course, politics as well. But I'm looking at wondering how the Biden family might be connected, how Harris might be connected, and of course, there's no way to know yet. But I guess we'll see once information comes out about P. Diddy.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see if he makes it to trial. I mean, I'm not trying to be, nonchalant about that either, but it'll be interesting to see if he makes it to a point. I wouldn't be shocked if we just talked about it on the show today. There's a new COVID variant, the XEC, apparently, that they're talking about, that's more contagious and spreads faster than anything they've seen before. There's always something. There's always a new strain. Yeah. But the biggest thing that I have to push this again is, Mr. President, you have to protect yourself, because people need to understand, if they succeed in killing this man, which cannot be argued that someone wants him dead, I believe the country goes into absolute war at that point, and do not think for 1 second that the current administration will not halt our election if the country is literally at war with itself.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a movie out right now, Civil War, and it's kind of that scenario. And I looked at it the other night to see what kind of relevance it would have to the things that are going on right now. And one of the things that shocked me was the guy playing the president. I don't know who he is, but I know I've seen him before on other things. He almost is identical to a Trump figure. And even said things like Trump has said, like the FBI needs to be abolished and all these things. And they made it look like the world was on the left side and they were taking this guy out. And it's like they show you what they really want to play out. And so what you're saying here about the Civil War, they've been talking about a Civil War here for 3 years now. And now it looks like, just like you said, if something were to happen to Trump, it seems like that could be where we move into.
I don't see how it could go. I've told everybody that if this election goes like 2020 does, I think the Civil War looks more like states having a vote of non-confidence within the state, telling the federal government, we are done, we are out, the end. If Trump is assassinated before he's able to take the White House in January, that unfortunately is when I see people going to violence. And then if I may be even more bold to say, at what point does war become the answer? At what point do people need to get to stand up? I mean, let's not forget that the Revolutionary War started for a lot less than where we are right now. And so it really does come to question when the people no longer have any other option but to stand up and but to fight back. I think that you're looking at the last effort right now. I really believe that. I really believe that you're looking at the last potential deterrent to stop the decay that is America for as long as we can. We all know that we can't stop it completely, and eventually we all know how this ends. But I think you're looking at the last election as we know it. The Democrats have already set precedent now that we never knew existed, to where literally 2 weeks before they confirm the nomination of their candidate, if their candidate is losing, they can just switch it out. So we've already destroyed how we normally do elections at that point. And I think that this is the last one as we know it to be.
And then when you add in countries like Iran spying on Trump, I know your show was about that today. I can feel the God-fearing patriots coming together going, something has to happen here. And so with the Iran stuff, are they really spying on Trump and giving Kamala information, or what's the deal with that?
I mean, why? Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't they? And so what I love is what's going to come out with this, because you see two conflicting reports. Trump last night at the rally was saying that he just found out that Iran was spying on his campaign, and that was giving it to the Biden-Harris administration. But then after he got off stage and got a little bit more information, he actually did a Truth Social post and said it was the Harris campaign that this was going to, and Kamala Harris needs to resign in disgrace, and will the Democrats replace her? So something between the time he found out about it on stage to when he found out a little bit more information, enough to write about it, he found out some different information. And then the Associated Press put out a report saying that Iran did spy on Trump, and they tried to sell the information to the Biden campaign. And the Biden campaign said, no, we don't want that. Whereas the way my brain works is, how does Iran know who to call to get in touch with the Biden campaign in the first place? Hello, this is Iran. We spied on Trump, and we'd love to sell it to you if you're interested. Like, how do they know who to call in the first place?
Pagers, that's how.
Pagers, I guess, but nobody asked those questions. Everybody's just like, oh, well, good for Biden for not taking that. How'd they know how to call them?
Yeah.
Just, anyway, if a crack dealer knows your number, you've been talking to a crack dealer. That's all I'm saying. Like that doesn't happen. And
point.
So if terrorists are calling you, you've been talking to terrorists. And so anyway.
Okay, we're going to hear people saying you guys are getting too excited about this stuff, and things like Kamala said she's a gun owner and she's not going to take your guns. Do you buy any of that?
She's not. Her exact statement were, we have guns, we're not going to take away your guns. That equates to it's kind of like a parent being like, oh, I don't think you're going to get a shot. Oh, no, I wouldn't worry too much about it. You're probably not going to get a shot. And then you show up and it's like, Yeah, you're getting a shot. Kamala Harris is not getting rid of her guns. That's what that equates to. There's so many things of Kamala Harris talking about. She supports mandatory buyback programs. And a lot of people are like, well, what is that? Well, buyback programs, police departments have been doing forever. And the purpose of it is it's like a no ask, no questions asked type thing. And the purpose was to try to get like gang members to turn in their guns and things like that for money. Yeah, right. And so it had an initial thing. Kamala Harris wants a mandatory buyback program. So in other words, when she passes the type of weapons that she deems are unconstitutional that you're not allowed to have, you will be mandated to turn those guns in. And I am a Second Amendment absolutist, man. Like no restrictions of any kind. I pushed back against President Trump over the bump stock thing back in his first administration, because I believe that a government that does not fear the people is a people that is conquerable. And so I believe that the people of our constitutional republic that we have should be feared by the government. The government should fear repercussions from we, the people, because, and a lot of Christians will talk about Romans 13 and things like that. And I agree with that, submitting to the authority of the land. But America is unique in that regard, where the absolute authority of this country is supposed to be the first three words, we, the people. The people are supposed to have the ultimate power and authority in this country.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that as well, but I also tell people that when the government tells me I can't preach Jesus, I'm going to keep preaching Jesus. I'm not just following the government blindly.
Right.
I'm going to preach the Word of God no matter what. And we know how that played out for the disciples and people throughout the years. So we're prepared to do whatever necessary to advance God's kingdom no matter what. So yes, it's true, but it's not always exactly black and white.
Context is a very important thing.
My.
It really is. Context is important. And how long until you can no longer post about Jesus because it can't be verified and it's now false information, and you get fact check on quoting Bible verses and things like that? How long until we get to that point? I don't think we're very far away from that at all. And, what will these churches do when the government comes looking for you? Yeah. And my biggest thing that I tell Christians and pastors is people, and it's not just me, there's so many people that do what I do that have been taking the arrows for so long, and so many pastors and Christians have been sitting back going, okay, well they can do it and things like that. One day they're going to figure out a way to get rid of people like me, and then people are going to continue to turn towards the church. So what are you going to do when there's no one left to fight your battles for you, church? What are you going to do? And so that's the biggest thing that I challenge pastors, leaders within the church, elders, whatnot, church goers, the congregation, is what are you going to do when it actually gets difficult and it actually gets hard? And hopefully we have a better response than we did in 2020.
Well, you bring up another great point. The other day, Hillary Clinton saying when she was on the Rachel Maddow show, she said that she believed that people that puts out false information need to have jail time or have some type of civil case brought against them. So we're looking at them trying to put in place those first steps to where they can silence people like us, where they can come in and shut you down, possibly arrest you and put you away like a January 6er, to where you never see the light of day again and you don't have representation the way you should legally. And so what do you think about that? What do you think about the words that Hillary said about that?
I think that they mean it. That's what I think. And when people show you who they are, believe them. And so that's why this election is so important, because that is what they will do. Governor Gavin Newsom literally just signed a law, and we'll see if it holds up in court or not. But they just asked him today, as a further explanation of that law he just passed, that it's illegal to do deep fakes or memes that are parodies to sway things of an election or things like that. And they asked him, are you thinking about legal action towards Elon Musk and other people? And he said, well, I'm not going to shy away from anything, especially Musk. And then he even said a particular conservative blogger. So Gavin Newsom is willing to go after everyone. And even if you don't live in the state of California, Gavin Newsom's going to go after you because the argument is, well, your content was distributed in the state of California. And so people don't realize how dangerous this law is that California just passed. You may think, oh, well, I live in Texas and I drop memes all the time. Well, if somebody starts mass distributing that in California, guess what? California can come after you. Yeah. And we live in very extreme times, very extreme natures. And I'm already waiting on my lawsuit. I can't wait. Like, I know it's coming at some point, unless we can get President Trump in the office again.
Well, Graham, we always love having you on. We tell people to go watch Dear America. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, Dear America, you can find it anywhere. If you're a video person, on any streaming platform that you can imagine. If you're an audio person, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can just search Graham Allen, or you can just search Dear America, and it should be the first thing that pops up.
And also is Amazon the best place to buy your books?
Yeah. Amazon, you can go find America 316 or Dear America on Amazon. I'm not the most well-spoken person in the world, but I have written a couple books. So,
well, and America 316, that tells your story a little bit more, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it's more of the how did we get to the point where you even buy a book from somebody named Graham Allen.
And of course, we don't have time to get into that right now with like 30 seconds left. But your testimony is incredible. How the Lord healed you and your wife and reconciled all of that was going on. Like I said, we can't get into now, but it's an awesome story. Everybody needs to go get one of those books. You need to start watching or listening to Dear America for sure. Any last words for the last minute that we have?
Hey, man, God bless you guys. We love everything that End Times does. We love everything that you guys stand for, and you always have a friend and ally to stand against the forces of evil with us here at Dear America.
Amen. That has been true since we met you, so we appreciate it very much. Again, go check out Dear America. Thanks again for joining us on the End Time Show. Always an honor. God bless you, Graham.
Thank you, Graham.
God bless you guys. Good to see you.
Likewise. All right, we are going to talk about the UN resolution, Doug, after this break that came out, really arresting Jews that live in Israel, potentially?
It could happen within a year.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to discuss that, and give us a call. 877 End Time's the number to join us, 877-363-8463. We'll be right back.
A voice spoke to me and said, I've got something I want to show you. I was so sure God had talked to me. And I was stunned on what I saw.
A direct fulfillment of this over 2,500-year-old prophecy. The United States will stand with Israel.
Why haven't I ever seen this before?
1/3 of humanity will die. What do these beasts symbolize?
The lion, the bear, the leopard.
The combined beast from Revelation 13 represents the end-time government of the Antichrist. Understanding the end time.
Now streaming on Endtime Plus and available to order at endtime.com/UET. Go to endtime.com/UET or call 800-ENDTIME.
What if you could understand Bible prophecy? Dave Robbins, the host of the End Time Show's TV and radio programs, is holding a free prophecy conference near you. Gain peace and understanding about what the Bible says concerning end time prophecy. Call 1-800-ENDTIME or go to endtime.com/events to see when Dave will be in a location near you.
Here with Doug Norvell. Open lines at 877 End Time, 877-363-8463. Give us a call. I do want to take time to remind you that Dave and Jana Robbins will be in Livingston, Texas this weekend, September 21st at 6 p.m. September 22nd at 11 a.m. Dave will be teaching 2 lessons there this weekend. You'll be able to meet him and Jen. It's definitely something you need to make plans to attend. If you're in the Livingston, Texas area, you can get additional details about the venue and more at endtime.com/events, or give us a call at 800-ENDTIME. We'll be happy to help you out over the phone. You don't have to RSVP. It is first come, first serve. But all that information is listed there at endtime/events. So go check that out. And then the weekend after that, Dave will be in Paris, California. The week after that, Dave, Doug, and I, and a number of our team members, including Judy Baxter, will be in Long Beach, California. We'll be doing some live recordings of the End Time show from the Long Beach Convention Center. It is going to be on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays when we're doing the live recording. We'll have a booth at an event there from Tuesday through Friday, and one of us will be at the booth pretty much all the time, the whole time the booths are open there. But we'll also be filming the End Time show live from the exhibit hall area there, 5:30 p.m. In California time, Mountain Time, I think it is. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All those details
Pacific time.
Pacific time.
Yeah.
No, not Mountain Time. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
They're
all.
2 hours behind.
There we go.
us.
That's all listed there anyway at endtime.com. So get the right information there.
There you go.
At endtime.com/events. Doug, before the break, we quickly brought up the Kamala Harris. Me and Waltz owns guns, and we're not going to take your guns, or whatever the exact quote is from her.
Right.
I just wanted to get everyone's thoughts. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that Kamala Harris, with what her gun policy is, do you really believe she doesn't want to take your guns? If you believe she would take your guns, put the number 1 in the comments. If you think that she would not, put the number 2. We'd love to see where everybody stands on that particular take. 1, if you think she would want to take them. 2, if you don't think she would take them like she said. But all right, Doug, let's move on.
Okay.
Because there was a resolution that happened at the UN.
Yeah.
That it doesn't say we're going to arrest the Jews that live in Judea Samaria, but it certainly implies that, which the prophecy radars, if we had a red light right here on the desk, well, that would be cool, wouldn't it? Put a red light right here. And for stories like this, if that thing lit up every time a prophecy-related story happened, it would be going a million miles a second for that particular story. So, my word, what in the world happened, and what do we need to know about it, Doug, from a prophecy perspective?
Well, so we know back in 2016 we had the UN pass the resolution there, the 2334, which said that all of the Jewish settlers in the Judean areas, what they call the occupied territory, those settlers are living there illegally as far as the UN and the World Court and the world community is concerned. Okay, so that's nothing new. But now they're giving us even more. They're saying that they're going to have to leave Judea, Samaria, and even some areas that have been Jewish quarters for a long time. We're going to show you some things here. First of all, I want to show this video from CBN. They explain a little bit more and give you a little bit more insight. I just want you to see this clip, and then we're going to look at a couple of maps and try to explain to you a little bit. So let's hit that video now.
In New York, 2/3 of UN countries passed a resolution on Wednesday demanding Israel leave its biblical homeland of Judea and Samaria and eastern Jerusalem, also known as the West Bank, within the next 12 months. That would force more than 500,000 Jewish Israelis from their homes. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, on top of that resolution, they also passed a resolution saying that Israel did not have a right to defend itself in Gaza, in the West Bank, or on the border of Lebanon, all of which is absolutely incredible that the UN would pull back a basic sovereign right, that you have a right to defend yourself. When you are attacked across your borders, then you have a right to respond to that attack. It doesn't end, you don't don't have these safe areas where terrorists go and hide and regroup and then come back and attack you again. I will remind everyone, and especially the UN, when Israel pulled out of southern Lebanon, the deal was the UN would create and maintain a safe zone that would have no weapons. The UN has completely failed in that mission. Hezbollah runs southern Lebanon, and they have put it, there are so many tunnels, all of these missiles, they're armed like a European nation state, and it was done under your watch. Why are you now coming after Israel? It makes no sense. Do what you promised to do, and there will be peace on that border. As long as you have this vacuum, Hezbollah is going to come in real strong and try to fill it.
And so, Vince, this goes even further. They're not just talking about the pullout of those settlements now, but they're saying that Israel, this resolution also included that Israel does not have the right to defend herself from an invading army or an army that is on their border launching missiles into their area. So they're saying, and remember, everybody just needs to think back to October 7th last year. It's almost been a year since this war's been going on. On October 8th, Hezbollah started bombing Israel. So right after the massacre that happened on October 7th, Hezbollah has been at war with Israel, and they are proxies of Iran. Iran is giving them weapons. Of course, we told the story the other day that Israel went into Lebanon and took out some military silos there and took out some missiles and things like that that they were using to launch into Israel. And then, of course, you know about the pager attacks. That's been an ongoing thing. There's been a couple of days of that now. There's even been some homes that I believe like some solar devices blew up and some things like that within the homes. So Israel is now launching a cyber war against them, which has got them scared and got them up in arms. They don't know what to do. You know, they probably don't know if they're pitching or catching at this point, but they're a little confused. But they're still launching missiles in. I have an app on my phone. I think Vince has it on his and Dave has it on his, that we get alerts every time there's a missile attack in Israel. It's been going off all day. It goes off all through the night. So this is a constant thing happening to Israel, but yet the world is against Israel on this. Even Christians right now, I'm talking to Christians who are angry at Israel and even say that the people that are living there are not true Israelites. They're not really the Hebrew people, that these are implants from Europe and things like that. There's a rise of anti-Semitism like we've been talking about for years, Vince. There would be. And what we're really watching, it's more important than we're just going to arrest Jews in these areas, because they can't come into Israel and do it. The U.S. has got a veto that can keep this from really going forward. But what they can do is, if the Israelis in those areas go into another place, another country that does support the International Criminal Court and what they're ruling, they can be arrested and put in jail. And so we're looking at that. But what we're really looking at, Vince, is the first steps to Armageddon. We're looking at this because this is where we're headed. Not only to Armageddon, it begins with the tribulation, the Great Tribulation, and then it's going to end in the Battle of Armageddon. So this is a big thing. And like you said, if there was a light that could be going off right now to alert everybody of a prophecy going off, it would be going off like those bomb alerts every day. I mean, one right after the other. And so, real quick, let's just show them the area that they're talking about the Jews got to get out of.
Before that, could you tell everybody what the app is called? I have a couple of the apps, and I don't know which one that you're recommending.
Let me look
people
real quick.
Want to know.
You put me on the spot there.
Sorry about that.
So this is Red Alert is what it's called, but it's I believe this is a Jewish alert that comes out, and it's TZOFAR, so Zophar is the name of it.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's Zophar Red Alert, and you can look at the App Store. It's a free app that you can pull down. So
that's specifically for iOS. We don't know if it's on Android or anything like that, but on iOS,
I have
it's
no idea. I just know that I have that on my phone, and it goes off all the time. So we uploaded that while Dave and the team and the folks were over there on the tour last year when they were stuck. We had that so that we would kind of get updates on what was going on. And I haven't ever taken it off because it's very relevant to what we talk about. And so let's look at these maps now, and we'll kind of show you some of the areas. Okay, so this is what is crazy. This right here What you're seeing is the old city. And so the UN has said that there needs, within a year.
This is Jerusalem.
Yeah, that's Jerusalem,
Yeah.
the old city Jerusalem. If you look there, you can see probably to, I guess, the middle of the right side there, you see the Temple Mount. So you'll see that square. You see the Dome of the Rock.
It's the orangish color, and it says Muslim quarter.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those areas are quartered off. You got a Muslim quarter, you got a Christian quarter, you have a Jewish quarter. And those are, I'm just going to talk about those three right there because they're very paramount to that area, because we go to all these areas when we go on our tours and things. Well, the UN has now said within a year there is to be no Jewish presence in Old Jerusalem. They're saying that this needs to go back to 1967 borders. The Palestinians get this area, and that all the Jews need to be out of this area. Well, look at smack dab in the middle of that, Vince.
Is that specifically the Muslim quarter, or is that whole thing that we're looking at?
So so this is one of those things that have happened there, and it's the Temple Mount is that rectangle shape that you see there with the Dome of the Rock. You see that? That's the Temple Mount. So the Western Wall, all those things are right there, and if you can see that, you can see its label. What the Muslims did was they came in and built all along the Temple Mount so that they could push out the Jewish population there. So they've built right on top of it. When you go to Israel, you see all the Muslim homes that have been built right there. And as a matter of fact, when we go to the tunnels underneath, what are they called? Rabbinical tunnels.
Yeah.
They go underneath there. The Muslims living above tried to stop them when they were excavating the old temple parts and going in there where you can now go on a tour. Well, at one time when they were doing that, the Muslims realized what they were doing, and they were making holes and dropping down and killing Jewish people that were doing these excavations for their Jewish heritage. And what they're trying to do is just run the Jews away from anything that is biblically known as Jewish territory. Okay, so that's what that is about. And that's what the UN, the international community, has now voted on and said, we want the Jews out of that area. Well, we know what is the Battle of Armageddon going to be fought over. In the Bible, we know that it tells us that it's that area. It's Jerusalem. That is what's going to be fought over. But Israel maintains power and control over Jerusalem until right before Jesus comes back. They lose half of the city and they get driven back, but a remnant is able to stay within that area. So the international community comes in to take half of Jerusalem from them, and then Jesus returns with the saints and fights the battle for Israel. Now, this other map shows you a little bit more of what that quarter looks like. If you look at this map in the light gray, you see that this is the area that they want to give the Palestinians as their home state, as their Palestinian state. So you got Gaza Strip over on the west side, which would be close to Egypt, where all the battles have taken place since October 7th against Hamas.
The bottom left of this map that's up.
Correct. And then you've got the bigger space over here. So you see how much of Israel they want to take from them and how skinny Israel is there. It would be impossible to defend against missile attacks if this happens.
And the interesting thing about this resolution, the interesting thing about what it's saying, literally calling out the Jews in Judea Samaria, we already knew about that from what the Bible has to say. So we'll get into that on the other side of the break, and we'll get to your calls then as well. The number to join us is 877 Endtime. Give us a call. We'll be right back.
They that understand what is taking place will instruct many.
Except a man is born again, he can't enter or see the kingdom of God.
I don't care what label you've been given or what label you've given yourself, you are essential. You still matter.
This is a journey, and when we get to the other side of that, that's where our prize is, that's where our reward is.
Endtime is not going anywhere.
Welcome back to the End Time Show. Vince Stegall here with Doug Norvell. We have open lines at 877 End Time, 877-363-8463. Of course, the End Time Show is being aired live on television through one source right now. It's also being broadcasted on the radio around the United States and, of course, streamed online. Doug, I listen to 770 KAAM on my way to work every day and on my way home. Our show does not air on 770 AM while I'm driving. Obviously. But nonetheless, that's where I listen on the radio while I am driving around the Dallas area. And so I thought, you know what, the next time we do a show, and I forgot to do it until just now, I better tell everybody out there on KAAM, 770 AM in the Dallas area, give us a call, 877 End Time. Give us a call right now. We'll prioritize your call, get you at the top of the list, and get you on the show. We would love to hear from anyone that wants to call, of course, but those in our local area listening on 770 AM, we'd love to hear from you. So give us a call right now. We'll put you at the top of the list. And that commercial where Judy says End Time's not going anywhere, I want to remind you, End Time's going everywhere. With the developments of one source, God is opening up doors like never before, and we've got partners backing us saying they're going to match every donation up to $100,000 to get one source launched. That's still happening right now. So if you have a spare $100,000 laying around and the Lord's telling you to do something good with it, we have partners that will double that donation. And if it's $5, if that's what the Lord's laying on your heart to give, they'll double that as well. So literally everything from $0 to $100,000 is going to be doubled right now during this time as we prepare, as we are in the middle of launching one source. So your donations are going to be doubled. Do that today, endtime.com/one, endtime.com/ONE, or you can call 800 End Time. We'll be happy to help you out in any way possible to help you be a founding contributor of one source. Lots of great things developing there. All right, Doug, we have some more things to cover because that UN resolution highlights the Jews in Judea Samaria, and there's scripture for this already.
Yeah.
It says, watch out. Matthew 24 is where I go straight to. Of course, we did warn the Jews last year. We've been doing another Jewish Holocaust for some time now. You can learn more about that at endtime.com/Jews. But Jesus said, he's warning those Jews that live in Judea. And of course, it's about the Antichrist standing in the temple proclaiming to be God. That is not this resolution. I guess we should clearly say that. It's just interesting that they call those Jews out specifically.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Vince, because it looks like that we're getting close to these things actually coming to pass. I mean, when they're voting on these things in the UN, and, you know, it was voted on, like, it was overwhelming. Let me just look real quick, because it was like 124 to 14 was the vote, with 43 people abstaining from the vote. So, you know, I mean, that's the thing. It's a majority, a huge majority within the UN. And of course, they gave the Palestinian people a voice there in the UN by recognizing them as a state already in the UN, even though they don't have a homeland there. But they have already recognized them as that and given them a voice there in the UN. So it's only, that voice is only getting louder and louder, and of course, with the protest here. But you're exactly right. In Matthew 24, Jesus speaks directly to these Jews living in Judea, the area they're talking about. And he says what happens is the abomination of desolation, when that Antichrist is revealed, that this is when that great tribulation begins, and it's going to start there. And so we're going to see this horrible Holocaust again is what we're going to watch. It's going to be worse than October 7th. I mean, October 7th was hard to watch. It was terrible to see. And of course, when I was a kid, Vince, they showed us films of the Holocaust. They showed us films of bodies being bulldozed into giant holes where they just mass buried all these Jewish people that they had killed in the gas chambers. And it was horrific as a kid to see those things. I don't know if they still show that side of history to kids anymore, because I don't think they teach history the way that they used to. They've got some kind of altered history that they're teaching people now. There's a lot of people that don't even believe the Holocaust happened, but there is a lot of footage out there that proves differently. And of course, we know from survivors themselves There have still been some. There may not be now, but there have still been some. I know when I was a bus driver, we would go to the museum here in downtown Dallas, and they had a lady who was a survivor, showed her tattoo on her arm that she got while she was in a death camp. So very real, the Holocaust, and it's going to happen again, and Jesus warns against it. And so you're right. I know that we've got calls, and I don't know if you want to go to the calls, but we have several scriptures where the Lord said to the Israelite people, of course, to Abraham, he said that the land is going to be yours from the river Egypt to the great river Euphrates, and that's in Genesis 15:18. We refer to that all the time because that's the covenant God made with Abraham, and Israel's right to exist in the land will be the covenant that they make for the peace agreement that we know is coming very soon as well. But when you look at, like, in the book of Numbers, the Lord told the Israelites that when they came into the promised land, when they crossed over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, this is Numbers 33, 51 through 53, he says, drive out the inhabitants of the land before you and destroy all their pictures, destroy all their molten images, and destroy all their high places. And the reason why, when he said that, the reason why he tells you in Exodus 34, because he says if you don't do this, you're making a covenant within those people, and those people will turn on you. It will be a snare in your midst. And that's what Israel has seen since this was not done when they came into the Promised Land. And also, we talk about it all the time, the 6-day war, where they could have turned some things around, and they chose not to because they were afraid of the international authority, the global government at that time. They were afraid that the world would come down on them if they did these things. So for the sake of time, we won't read all those scriptures, but they're there, and you can go look at them and look them up yourself and read those. But I know that there's probably some people out there that want to talk to us a little bit about some of what we've been talking about.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We're going to start in Texas.
All right.
Tony's watching there. Tony, welcome to the Endtime Show.
Hey, guys. Great program, by the way. I've got just two quick items, and I'll listen to your response. One is, could you repeat the resolution number? And then the second item is, who are the sponsoring countries? Who sponsor the resolution.
I haven't seen the resolution number, and I was trying to find it earlier.
Either. I looked for it as well, and I couldn't find it either, Tony. And I don't have because I make very little notes for us to go off of, and I didn't include those countries that were there, but they are in the articles. And the articles you can find on any of the news articles are there, Jerusalem Post, CBN News, and it does label those who were for this and did not stand up for Israel, and it also gives the ones that did, and of course America's one of them. But there are several EU countries that did not stand up for Israel. I remember Ukraine specifically being mentioned, Germany being mentioned, which those are not surprises when we know what the world government is going to consist of from Revelation 13. So I apologize that I don't have that information. I just didn't put it in the notes today, and I apologize for that.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll look that up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. And just to reiterate, Doug, that vote was 124 to 14,
yeah.
And then 43 abstained. So there's 124 countries who voted in favor of it. I know that Egypt and Turkey, Uganda, North Korea, there were several of them that were in favor of it. I don't have the list of the 124 in front of me right now.
I apologize that I didn't put that in there today.
Well, yeah, but there would be so many to read anyway. But yes, you can go look all that up. It's available. I just don't have the resolution number. But it literally just happened in the last few days. So go check that out. Search on any search engine. You'll be able to find it. All right, we are going to go to Utah now. Marianne is watching there. Marianne, welcome to the Endtime Show.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to hear from you, Marianne.
Well, it's nice to be able to speak with you. I was really quite concerned about how I'm in total agreement with that gentleman you had on today about the Civil War and things like that, because you know how all these Kamalas and Microsoft, all those, have got their underground mansions already dug and prepared for them to live. And here we have Donald Trump out here fighting for his life. I mean, what's the point of that? So I guess my idea is that why would we even give Kamala Harris and all their problems the time of day?
Yeah, well, you know, one thing, Marianne, that I'm believing is happening, because that's one of the things we talked with Graham about earlier, is I believe that some of the things that have been exposed that we're beginning to see, people are starting to wake up to the one-sidedness of things. I mean, we see, you know, we did a program earlier this week where it showed how they kept saying if Trump would stop the rhetoric, the bullets would stop flying at him. There wouldn't be assassins, almost as if to say, oh, he deserves everything he's getting. And then yet we showed a video of how they've called for nothing but violence over the last 4 to 5 years. And they say that Trump is the one that is very violent. Well, I've never heard Trump call anybody to violence. Trump has said we need to get these people out of office. We need to run them out of town. We need to get them out of politics completely, because he wants to drain the swamp. He talks about that all the time. But what I think with Trump's first run, what he didn't understand was that the swamp is just not in Washington, D.C. The swamp is global. It's all over the world. And really, he stood in the belly of the beast at the WEF, and he told them to their faces in that crowd, America will never stop being a sovereign nation. We'll never give up our sovereignty. When he did that, he spit in the eye of the beast. And so this is a global thing that's happening, and that's why we're seeing all the support coming in with the money and everything else for the Harris administration, why things are happening, because she's backed by some very powerful people. And I don't know if you remember, but in Trump's first run, when he came against the pharmaceutical companies, he said something that was very strange to me, and I've never been able to find the clip again, but I remember it like it was yesterday. He said, I've made some very powerful people very angry, and I may have to go away for a while. And I felt like what he was telling us was, I'm not going to win that next election. I'm going to be gone, but I won't go very far, and then I'll come back. And I'm going to go out and try to find that clip again, because it was quite powerful when he said that. He said, I've made some very powerful people very angry.
And I really do want to see him become the next president, because of all the rest of them that have to dig their tunnels and their mansions under the ground, what does that say?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I mean, they've been doing this for quite a while now, haven't they?
They have. There was a report 2 years ago we did on Biden actually had an underground bunker in one of his houses with tunnels. So, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Biden,
they've been doing it for a while.
Obama and Microsoft and, you know, Bill Gates, all that. Yeah, because I was talking with you guys at that point, and I thought, well, that's just a terrible thing. So, I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about, if I have to have a clone, I'll be out here beating the crap out of her. At who gets to eat the worms and the whatever,
and
who
the crickets.
Gets spaghetti.
Thanks for your call, Marianne. We're at the end of the show. Unfortunately, we got to let you go. It's just getting interesting.
Right.
And, you know, Doug, frankly, if I had the money, I might put an underground pumper in my house too. But
yeah, you know.
That's not for me right now. Maybe one day. Don't forget, above everything else, there's a lot of conflict in politics. There's a lot going on with the presidential election. But above everything else, Jesus is your one source. If he's not, he should be. You can go to endtime.com/reborn to learn more about what it means to be born again into his kingdom, just like the disciples talked about. But I am here to say Jesus is my one source, and we are ready to do whatever the Lord's calling us to do. So put it in the comments if you agree Jesus is my one source. Don't forget to go to endtime.com/one to be a founding contributor to One Source. And of course, tomorrow's open line, so you don't want to miss that. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time.